Welcome everybody to Ravine Rundown. This is going to be a production of Hanger Pod, and the main thing of this podcast is going to be talking Dodger baseball. So I got one of my good friends, Sergio Ramos, one of the biggest Dodger fans I know. Serge, what do you got to say to the people?
Hey guys, how you guys doing? Welcome to the Ravine Rundown Podcast. I'm super excited to be here. Super excited to be on my boy Miggy. For all Dodger content, news, anything, this is where you come. So I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, so if any of you guys know Hanger Podcast, that's my other podcast I do with my friend Luke. We go ahead and talk about pretty much the entire Major League of Baseball, right? Here on Ravine Rundown, me and Serge, diehard Dodger fans, we're going to be talking all Dodgers. And honestly, this is a good place for me to get out my bias. So when I go to the other podcast, bro, I'm not blabbering about the Dodgers the whole time.
Perfect, hey, bro, yeah.
Perfect.
Dodgers all day.
Dodgers all day here. So. Yeah, here, bro, I can say whatever I want about the Dodgers, bro. We're not ruining baseball. I know that much.
Hell no, and we're going to get into that.
We're going to get into that for sure. I think with us starting at the very end of the offseason, our podcast, being at the end of the offseason, it's important to understand the moves that the Dodgers made to get to this point. So something that we want to start off with is recapping the offseason the Dodgers just had, and wow, it was an off season. That's a pretty damn good word to describe it. It was an off season.
Yeah,
Dodgers,
this off season that we had, last year, we had another amazing off season. We spent over $1 billion last year on just 2 players, and for us to come out here and this organization to have another off season even better than last year, it's pretty unremarkable. It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, in what world does a team go out, win a World Series, and then you look at their roster, and they're like 10 times better. Up and down the roster, there's talent like no other. It's going to be so awesome watching this Dodger team, man.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. And I think that what also that shows is, like, even though we won a World Series, we're like, the organization and the front office is not satisfied. No. There's always room to get better, and there's always room for improvement. So, yeah, again, like, it's just the players that we added is just, it's unreal.
Unreal. And speaking of the players we added, the Dodgers go out, and the first big move of the offseason was signing Blake Snell, the former Cy Young Award winner. And the crazy thing about this, and the thing that makes it a little bit sweeter, is we stole him from the Padres and we stole him from the Giants, man. So a little bit of a moral victory there. What do you think about that move, Serge? He goes for a 5-year, $182 million contract.
Yeah, no, when I first heard about the news about the Blake Snell signing, I was honestly pretty shocked. I knew that we were kind of, in on him, but, like, most people don't understand that Blake Snell is, like, for most other teams, like the Giants last year, he's a top of the rotation guy. He's an ace. For the Dodgers this year, he slotted in as the 4.
Insane.
Like, that's pretty insane. Like, this guy, Blake Snell, great talented pitcher, but, like, for him to be on this rotation now is gonna be like, like, literally it's just like the Avengers on the rotation. Like, he's the 4. He's a 4 on this rotation.
I mean, in what world is Blake Snell a number 4? This is a guy that in the second half of the season last year was prime Blake Snell. That is as good as you're gonna get. His ERA was well below 2. He was dominant. Simple as that. Yeah. His strikeout stuff is amazing. I had to just throw that in there. Yeah,
no, he's lights out. And I think, when you look at a full season of Blake Snell, right, he's only pitched 180 innings twice in his career. And both those times, he won a Cy Young Award. And so, like, his second half, he really had to, warm up and dial up. But he did sign into late spring training in March. So that really affected him. And this offseason, he didn't make the same mistake. He signed in November. So he was making sure that he's going to get a full offseason, full spring training. So there's a possibility that we might get, Cy Young caliber Blake Snell in our rotation as the 4.
You don't see that. I mean, you just don't see it. It's going to be interesting to see how the Dodgers play out their rotation. I definitely think that it's obviously one of the best rotations we've ever seen, but it's going to be interesting to see how they, do the 1 through 5. Will they do a 6-man rotation? The Dodgers, a world of possibilities. Something that I really like for the Dodgers with all these different starting pitchers that we have is a 6-man rotation. I mean, we have some guys like Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell even, and then guys like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani. These are guys that have either dealt with a lot of injuries throughout their career, or they've been coming from Japan where they're used to these longer breaks in between starts. So I definitely think that the Dodgers have a lot of upside for the rotation this year.
No, most definitely. On paper, our rotation is absolutely stacked. You know, you have Shohei Ohtani's at the top, the Yamamotos, the Glasnows, and not to mention we just signed, you know, Roki Sasaki, who was the top Japanese, basically the top free agent pitcher on the market, and he's slotted in as our 5 right now. But getting back onto, like, you know, the health thing, we have dealt with a lot of pitching injuries over the years, especially last year as we had bullpen games in the World Series and playoffs. And so, you know, even though it's the best rotation on paper, you know, pitching injuries are like the most common in baseball nowadays. Like, you know, there's always a player having Tommy John.
Right.
So the whole rotation has to stay healthy for this, you know, rotation to work, for it to be dominant, that, you know, the talent that's on the paper.
I agree. I completely agree. So the Dodgers, they go out, they knock out starting pitching, because going into this last postseason, we saw it, man. We were down to 3 starters. Depth was definitely a big factor for the Dodgers, and one way of locking in depth, especially in your pitching staff, is bringing guys back. The next move the Dodgers would go on and make this offseason was signing Blake Trinan back on a 2-year contract. How valuable is Blake Trinan to this team, Serge?
Oh, Blake Trinan is one of the most valuable pieces of this team. We saw it back all the way back in 2020 when we played the World Series that year. You know, he's been the lockdown guy when he's healthy and he's in the back of that bullpen. We even saw it in Game 5 of the World Series. He went out there, pitched 2.5 innings. This guy literally gave it his all. Dave Roberts went out there, take him out, and he said, no, I want this guy, and he finished it. Because he knew we were depleted in pitching. So, you know, he's one of the biggest contributors on this team.
That's what a dog does. That was the definition of a dog. The Dodgers adopted the bullpen dog mentality.
The bullpen dogs.
And Blake Trinan pretty much said, I'm going to live up to that in the biggest stage of the season. Blake Trinan is everything to that Dodger bullpen. This is a guy that's been with our team going on 5 years. People forget how valuable he was in that 2020 World Series. Like, he was that by far our best reliever. This was a must. I think the Dodgers have done a good job this offseason of bringing back the guys they had to bring back. Starting with Blake Trinan, I think that one was a quick to knock out. Like, there wasn't really much to say besides Blake Trinan. We're damn happy you're back. So
no, that was pretty much a must signing, you know. And the deal, 2 years, $22 million, cheap, affordable, basically a discount deal. You know, come back to the Dodgers, $11 million a year. He honestly could have tested the market, maybe got something more on the market, but you know, there's no need. He's up there in age. He's around 37. You know, he's gonna retire as a Dodger. And you know what better place to retire than the Dodgers?
Better, yeah. At the stage of his career, it made the most sense to come back to LA. The next move the Dodgers would go on to make, though, this offseason that I think had a lot of people scratching their head, and I'm still at the point where I'm like, I'm not really sold on it. Michael Conforto. I want to know your thoughts first, and I'll go ahead and get mine.
The Michael Conforto signing, when I first heard about it, I was a little surprised. You know, this is a guy that when he was back in you know, kind of like his prime with the Mets, he was a pretty solid defender, solid hitter, gives you around 25 homers, 25 doubles a year. But after he had the shoulder surgery and he went with the Giants, he really hasn't been the same. Hasn't been the same, you know, player, especially on the hitting wise. But also too, he was in a park like Oracle. You know, that's not a great hitter-friendly ballpark. So maybe coming to the Dodgers again, us Dodgers too, they're a really great organization, and getting players and rejuvenizing their careers, such as, you know, like a Jason Hayward, a Miguel Rojas, you know, so maybe it's an opportunity for him. You know, he signed a 1-year deal. I was kind of surprised about the number. 17 mil, I think, is a little too high for him. I think he was more maybe like a 10 mil to 12 mil type of player. But, you know, he was able to get that deal, and I think he might, you know, find something here in LA. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. But, I mean, Michael Conforto, reading off his stats from last year, he had a pretty damn... I wouldn't say a pretty damn good year. He was just solid. This is a solid guy that you stick at the bottom of your lineup that you're expecting 20 homers from. That's exactly what he gave the Giants. He went out. He only had a WAR of 1.3. He hit 20 home runs, drove in 66, batted .237, had an on-base percentage of .309, and his OPS was 760. So he was about league average as an OPS kind of guy. So, I mean... The Conforto move pretty much solidified the Dodgers saying Mookie Betts is an infielder. That's what I got from this move.
Yeah.
Because that happened very early in the offseason. The Dodgers said, Mookie Betts, you're going to be playing shortstop or second base this upcoming year. And the Dodgers, they countered that by bringing in an outfielder. Something that I've talked about in other videos and other episodes of different podcasts, I was like, what are the Dodgers going to do about a James Outman, an Andy Pages? Like these are guys that are genuine ball players that have the potential to be good. Obviously, James Outman had an insanely down year, but let's not forget how solid he was his first year for us.
Yeah.
So something like this tells me that Michael Conforto is taking James Outman's reps, and I wouldn't say that's a bad thing, but it just feels like James Outman is the odd man out here. That's what I got from this signing, and something that I got on the Andy Pages side of things is Michael Conforto, being a left-handed batter, gives Andy Pages the opportunity to face a lot of left-handed pitching this year. So I think that there's still playing time for him. And I genuinely believe in Andy Pages. I believe that this guy is a real major leaguer that can hit for a lot of power, drive in a lot of runs. Like this, he's a great hitter. And I think that having those two guys platoon in right field, both being solid defenders, it's a solid move. I'm not against Michael Conforto coming over at all.
No, he has a lot of upside. He's kind of a high ceiling, low floor type of guy. If we're able to, unlock something with him again, I think he could be a great player for us. I think this signing kind of showed like the Dodgers like, okay, Mookie Betts said he wants to play the infield, so he's moving back to the infield. And, we need to find a left fielder. And I don't think maybe yet they don't think, Pages, I think, is still not capable as the full-time guy. So Conforto, a little bit more of a veteran, could kind of go in there and then be with Pages as a platoon and kind of, stick back and forth, right-handed pitching, left-handed pitching. Yeah. So I think it's a good move. I think, too, going back to the Outman situation, I don't think there's much chances left for Outman.
Yeah.
I kind of think he's, especially now having Edman in center field, he signed a 5-year extension. He's going to be there. He's not going to be platooning, especially after the performance he put up in the NLCS last year. So I think with Outman, I think it's kind of, he might become a trade chip eventually. I don't think he has much opportunity left, at the MLB level with the Dodgers. But I definitely think Pages has a lot, for this team. He showed it in the playoffs last year against the Mets. He had that 2-homer game in the NLCS. I think he played about 100 games in the regular season. So for Pages, I think there's still a lot for him here. But Outman, I don't see it.
I definitely agree with that. I think James Outman, he was given his opportunity, and it wasn't even that he blew the opportunity. He completely threw the opportunity away. Like, it felt like what are we, James? Like you were at top of the mountain here. It felt like, and you just completely fell off. So I definitely agree with you on that. Another move that the Dodgers go out and make. We're pretty much covering all the moves the Dodgers made. So the next move that I felt like was important to talk about was the Dodgers go out and they bring in Hyun-Sung Kim. And I think we can kind of connect this move with us trading Gavin Lux, because it felt like we brought in Hyun-Sung Kim in order to trade Gavin Lux. I'll start on this one. I think I talked about it before, obviously, too. Hyun-Sung Kim, this is a guy that plays defense. He slaps singles. He gets on base. He steals bases. He does all the little things right. And it just reminds me so much of what Tommy Edman brought to the team at the end of last year. Like, the Dodgers, with all the star power, the Shohei Ohtanis, the Mookie Betts, the Freddie Freemans, the Teoscar Hernandezes, the Will Smiths, you kind of need those guys that are consistent at what they do. They're not breaking the bank, hitting 30 home runs, driving in 100, but they're getting on base. They're making the pitchers worry about them on the base paths. They're going out and doing the little things right. And I think that's what we saw from Tommy Edman. You win World Series because of guys like this. Their impact sometimes can be bigger than some of the stars. So I really like the move of Hyun-Sung Kim. And I think that it was really important to bring another guy in like that.
Yeah, no, the Hyun-Sung Kim signing, I think, is one of the most interesting moves of the offseason. First off, the contract, it was... Where is it?
It was a 3-year, $26 million, I think.
No. I think it was 3-year, 12. I don't think it was that much.
Let me see.
Oh, no, right here. 3-year, $12.5 million. I just couldn't find it.
For all 3 years, or was that his, like...
No. That's all 3 years.
Wow, I didn't know he was that cheap.
Yeah, so, to go back, I think it's one of the most interesting moves. Okay.
This is... Sorry to cut you off, Serge, but this was actually the contract. He signed a 3-year guaranteed $12.5 million, but because of incentives, it can increase all the way to $22 million. Just so everyone knows.
So there you go. So base value 12.5 with incentives. This is very interesting too, because he was very heavily rumored for the Mariners and the Angels, and the Angels actually offered him a 5-year, $28 million deal. and he decided to come to the Dodgers. Shows where he wants to go, who he wants to play with. But back to your point, yes, I think he's a very important piece. He's a guy that's, again, very scrappy, base hits, stolen bases, very fast. I think sometimes the Dodgers, when you look at all the superstar power, sometimes we get a lot, very top heavy or very home run heavy, and we don't have those guys. Right. Like the Tommy Edmonds. I think this is a perfect example because you go back to 2023 and 2022, we had superstars, but we didn't have those type of guys. We didn't have those scrappy little ball players that could get that base hit in the big moment, that could be clutch, that could steal a base when we needed it the most. So, again, he's very similar to, I think, like you said, Tommy Edman, and I think he's going to bring a lot to this. And in my personal opinion, I never believed in Gavin Lux. I was very happy that we traded him. I think Hyosung Kim is what the Dodgers thought Gavin Lux could be, that scrappy player, but he never lived up to the potential. I think he was here, honestly, way too long. So I'm happy that, maybe he's going to have a better opportunity in Cincinnati. He's probably going to be an everyday player there. But I'm very excited for Hyosung Kim. I think, he's going to be our everyday second baseman. I think him and Mookie Betts are going to be a good up the middle.
Yeah. So I completely agree with you. You couldn't have said it any better about the way the things he brings to the organization, like the thing he brings to the team, the thing he brings to the organization, exactly what you want out of a player. And now moving on to Gavin Lux, that was the next move. The Dodgers literally they couldn't even wait a week. I think they did it a couple days after. Yeah. They were really quick to trade Gavin Lux. We traded Gavin Lux for a center field prospect named Mike Sirota, who actually has some pretty good upside, so I'm not against that. Lux, this is the thing with Lux, man. He had his highs were really high, and it was like, okay, this guy might figure it out. And then it got to a point where his lows felt so low, and it just felt like, damn, is this guy ever gonna hit a ball again? And I something I won't miss is watching a game and seeing Gavin Lux hit about 15 ground balls to the second baseman every at bat.
Yeah, that was pretty much him. Yeah. And the thing with Lux is that he's a homegrown talent. Got sent him back in 2016, and he got called up really early. I think we called him up a little too early. I think it was too much for him. So we sent him back down. He came back up. And I do understand he tore his ACL before the 2023 season. That sucked. That was supposed to be his big opportunity. But we did give him a second chance. And he never lived up, he never lived up to, the potential. He didn't have that hit tool. He was a ground ball machine. Didn't have much pop. And then on the defensive side, wasn't great either. There was plenty of games where made errors. His throwing for a while was horrendous. He couldn't make a throw to the first baseman.
Who am I, Serge? When I throw the ball, the little flick. I'll never forget that little flick of the wrist. I was shooting a basketball out there, man.
Yeah, poor Freddie Freeman over there had to pick so many balls for him, bro. He just never lived up to the potential. And for me personally, I never believed in him, but I waited. I gave him a chance, and he never. And I think it was just time for him to go.
I agree. I completely agree. It was that it almost felt a little late. But before we move on, I do want to end on a high note for Gavin Lux. Your last at bat as a Dodger will be a game-tying sac fly in a World Series game. So I would love to just thank you for bringing us a ring.
And he ended his Dodger run with a ring. So
ended with a ring.
There's no better way to end it off.
I completely agree. You couldn't have said it better, Serge. That's pretty much what I had on that as well. The next move that I want to ask your opinion specifically about, the Dodgers pretty much, let me see these dates here. They ended up making this move for Teoscar a little bit after. They go out and get Teoscar on a 3-year, $66 million contract. I want to start on this because there's something I wanted to get off my chest about this with the Dodgers.
Go for it.
The Dodgers, you guys are just throwing money out like nothing. I don't like that we had to wait this damn long to sign him, and we didn't even give him a crazy contract, man. That bothered me. This was a guy that literally you do not win the World Series without. That's how valuable he was to our organization, to our team. Not even just to the players on the field and his impact. It was to the fans, man. This is a fan.
The city of LA.
Literally. From the moment we saw that video of him and Shohei, the Fanatico thing, that was all Teoscar was a fan favorite in that moment, and something that bothered me with the Dodgers organization. Listen, I'm never one. I'm never one to consistently go against what Andrew Friedman has planned. This one though, little bit of a head scratcher that we waited this long, knowing that we've just been throwing out money all offseason and that Teoscar was such a staple to the team. But I'm glad it got done. You know, I'm not going to complain because we still did get the deal done. He's back, and it's going to be so nice to see this man batting cleanup for us again.
Oh, no, dude. Teoscar Hernandez became, probably the most popular Dodger player in the 2024 season. I mean, this guy, the Dodgers are not the 2024 Dodgers without Teoscar Hernandez. We don't win the World Series without Teoscar Hernandez. Set aside the fact from all the baseball stuff, Teoscar Hernandez is the culture of the Dodgers. He brings everyone in the clubhouse together. He sets the good vibe. And with that, he has an amazing production on the field. He had 33 homers for us, drove in 99 runs. And in the postseason, even though he was a little lackluster against the Padres, he had that grand slam in Game 3. He had the home run in Game 5. Yep. Against the Mets, he went ice cold. And then we go to the World Series, and he hits a homer. And then in Game 5, he hits that double that pretty much ties the game and gets us, to win the World Series. Yeah. So, yeah, I was very scared. It took way too long to sign Teoscar Hernandez. I was honestly very frightened that we weren't going to sign him, and I think that would have been a huge loss.
Yep.
I'm so glad we did. And for the contract, 3 years, $66 million. To be honest with you, I think it's a little undervalued. I think he's worth more than $66 million. I think he should have got maybe a 4-year $80. My prediction was 5-year $100. I think that was pretty on line with what he should have got. But you know what? I'm not gonna complain. We got him 3 years, $66 million. He actually left money on the table with other teams to come back as a Dodger because he wanted to be that. He obviously pressed that the entire offseason. As soon as the World Series parade, he said, I want to be a Dodger. This is where I want to be. Yeah. So, again, I think my favorite move of the offseason, Teoscar has become one of my favorite players. This is a guy that we needed back. And like you said, I am so happy that he's going to be hitting cleanup for the Dodgers for the next 3 years.
Literally. It's a match made in heaven. Something that I wanted to bring up about you made a point about Anthony I'm giving away what I'm going to even say because I'm messing up. But something that you said about Teoscar's contract was how undervalued he was.
Yeah.
Anthony Santander is 30 years old, right? Teoscar Hernandez is 32 years old. Anthony Santander got a 5-year, $92.5 million contract, while Teoscar signed a 3-year, $66 million contract. If you compare Anthony Santander to Teoscar Hernandez's numbers, like it was Teoscar's just been the better player throughout his career, and it's crazy that Anthony Santander is such a minus defender, and Teoscar has been such a better player throughout his career. I think Santander might have had a better year last year overall. But it's like crazy to see such a difference in the money in the contract when like these players are neck and neck. It's crazy. We got to steal.
Yeah, no. So like you said, Anthony Santander just got a 5-year, $92 million contract with the Blue Jays. That could go up to 6-year, $110 if they don't include the opt-out. And based on Fangraphs on the MLB, Anthony Santander had a 3.3 WAR with the Orioles last year. Teoscar had a 3.5 WAR with the Dodgers in 2024.
Crazy.
So, obviously, way more valuable. I do, no disrespect to Anthony Santander, great power threat in the league, great power hitter. I am happy for him that he got that contract, but I think overall, Teoscar Hernandez is a overall better player, and Anthony Santander is way less better defensively than Teoscar is.
Yeah. And that's saying something, because Teoscar's not a very good defender either, bro.
No, he's not. But Anthony Santander is Anthony Santander is basically a DH. Yeah. I mean, let's be real.
I agree with that completely. So, the Dodgers, I mean, I'm just loving that, like, we're recapping an offseason, and we're able to, like, say, like, more than 2 or 3 names. Like, we're just continuing to continue.
Oh, it's great.
It's awesome.
It's amazing. This is an organization that has shown time and time again that the main goal is to win. Exactly. And again, even after winning a World Series, a lot of teams, you look at, the Rangers last offseason. They won a World Series, didn't do much after. A lot of teams that win the World Series think, oh, okay, we'll just run it back with the same team. But, it usually doesn't work. That's where you get the, World Series hangovers the next season.
Right.
And the Dodgers, to avoid that, went out there and said, no, we're not satisfied, and we need all these pieces.
Yep. I wouldn't say need. I wouldn't say need because it is insane. But I do think that the Dodgers are pretty much saying to the rest of the league, listen, we're going to do whatever it takes. Do we need it? Maybe we don't need all these pieces to win, but we're still going to take them from you guys. And that gets to my next point here. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have something?
I don't think it's, a necessary need. But as we both know in baseball, being baseball fans, in baseball, when it comes down to October, one of the most important things is depth.
Mm-hmm.
And you always need depth. So I think the Dodgers, again, it's not like I always see like a point-blank need, but it's a need in their books because they want depth. So when we get to October, we don't have the issues that we had last postseason where we're throwing bullpen games in Game 4. So again, it's not a point-blank need like some other teams, but it's, little needs. Little just, in their books. Andrew Freeman is like, this is what we need to do so that we can have, so that we're good. We're completely good for the entire season.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I didn't even think of it that way. Then Serge made a great point right there, guys. Like, literally, the Dodgers won a World Series without depth, or we had depth. We just were that injured. Now, if we have run into that same issue, man, Dodgers are going to be able to push through that easily. And that gets to my next point, man. The Los Angeles Dodgers continue to spend money, but this time they don't spend big-time money. They just get one of the prizes of the offseason in Roki Sasaki, which is insane. Like, it's crazy that guy is, like, going to be a Dodger. Like, he's a Dodger now. He's for those of you who don't know, man, like, if you're watching, who's Roki Sasaki? Roki Sasaki was one of the best pitchers in the Japanese league, and he's very young at 23 years old.
Best pitcher in the NPB. Yeah. And it's not even close.
Yeah, guy is a stud. He's got a plus fastball, nasty slider, nasty splitter. He's got all the talent in the world, and he just needs an organization to be able to help him put it all together. So he goes ahead and picks the best possible organization, the Los Angeles Dodgers. What do you think of this, Serge?
I mean, it's just an unreal move. If you look back, the past 2 off seasons, the Dodgers have literally gotten the best Japanese player the past 2 off seasons. Like, we have, the big 3 of the NPB in LA now. And yeah, like you said, Roki Sasaki is top of the tier, top of the line starter. This guy's an ace. When he gets to the MLB, he's going to be an ace. For any other team, he's their number 1. And with us, he's possibly our number 5.
I know.
Our number 5. But if you guys don't know, Roki Sasaki is an amazing pitcher. Like you said, plus fastball, we can reach up to 102. Disgusting splitter. You just have to go back to his 2023 WBC highlights.
Yeah,
this guy is just ridiculous. And the fact that we were able to get him, again, it was heavily rumored that the Dodgers were going to get him, even saying that we already had a deal in place before the negotiations start. Obviously, to be proven the past couple of days, that obviously was not true.
Right.
He just obviously picked the Dodgers. And again, if we're talking about development-wise, the Dodgers are the best organization. You've seen it time and time again. We have an amazing pitching, department. Mark Prior is an amazing pitching coach. And if you looked over the years on certain pitchers that have developed, look at the, Evan Phillips, for example. Great example. Tony Gonsolin. Even last year, Brett Honeywell even came into the spotlight, So as a development-wise, this is honestly probably the best place that you could come.
Best case scenario. Something that I've literally can stop talking about because these topics keep coming up. The Dodgers they're not winning these players over with money. They're winning these players over with creating an insane culture. Like, look at how much fun they have on the field. Just watch a Dodger game and you'll see. Watch a Dodger game from last year. You'll see how much fun they'll have on the field. They have the great coach. They have player coaches. Dave Roberts, Mark Prior. Like, these are guys that play for these guys coach for their players. And they're going out and they have great development, great training. You're in LA, like you're in the sunny weather all the time. Like, it's the environment, everything outside. Don't get rid of baseball. Get rid of the team. The Dodgers have literally created like the best summer camp in the world. Like, literally, bro. Like, you go and you go play bait. You just have fun with your boys. You get nice. You got the cool people around you. Like, it's just so perfect. The Dodgers have created just such a great environment, and that's why a guy like Roki is gonna come. Let's be honest. We knew coming into this, Roki wasn't gonna be able to sign for the big contract because he's under the age of 25. So why not just sign with the best team that like just creates like there was no way he was gonna go to Toronto. Like, that's my point.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No way.
It wasn't going to happen, before the Santander signing, they couldn't get a big free agent. Their main thing is, we're interested in. They're always interested in. And I think another great point about Roki Sasaki that, a lot of people are forgetting. So besides, the pitching side and the baseball side and the Dodgers and the organization, you guys have to understand that on the Dodgers, Yamamoto and Ohtani are on the team. Two of his teammates from the WBC, two Japanese players. It's just like you. If you, like, say we're going to get a new job, right? And you had two choices, and one of the choices, three of your best friends are there. You're gonna go there. It's familiarity, right? He's coming to the MLB. He's coming to a new country, to a league that he's never played in. And what's better than familiarity? It's comfortability.
Right. Yep.
He has two guys that were his teammates that speak his language.
Wow.
That obviously, both of them are pitchers. So, it's best case scenario. He's familiar. He's comfortable. He's going to be able to not go in there and, everything's like, wow, like this is the MLB. This is a lot to take in. He has two guys that can help him with that, that can help make the transition a lot easier for him. And I think that's another important factor of his decision coming to the Dodgers.
Bro, let's go, sir. That fired me up, bro. Like that was great. You couldn't have said anything better about the familiarity. That's exactly why he came over. So Roki, we it's crazy. It's crazy.
And another point, I think this is another just nail in the coffin that the Dodgers just always have the upper hand against the Padres. Every time. Every time.
I know. You know what? That's perfect segue into the next player we're going to be talking about. The Dodgers signed Tanner Scott to a 4-year, $72 million contract and go ahead and beat the Padres once again. Once again, man. We go out. We give him a good amount of money for a reliever. But let's be honest, man. This is a point that I'm excited to actually say right here. We go out and we get a dominant lefty, which is something that kind of adds a little bit of a mix to our bullpen because we have a lot of right-handers, and we're big fans of Anthony Banda, but for the namesake and stuff-wise, he's nowhere near Tanner Scott. And Alex Vezia's had some great years, but he's also nowhere near Tanner Scott stuff-wise. Mm-hmm. Tanner Scott is a wipeout. I mean, this is a guy that, like, if you want to face the best player in the world, you use. And that's exactly what the Padres did against us in the postseason last year. Anytime they could get Tanner Scott on the mound against Shohei Ohtani, they were going to use it. And that's why I love this move. Because for the next 4 years, Shohei Ohtani, a guy that went 1 for 10 in his career against Tanner Scott, gets to be teammates with him. Like, this reminds me, for all the Dodger fans, in 2019, the NLDS against the Nationals. I know it ended sadly, but do you guys remember Adam Kolarek would just face Juan Soto every night? I think they faced each other 4 times in that 5-game series. And that's the same strategy the Padres were trying to use with Scott and Ohtani. So I love that Scott gets to be on Ohtani's team and doesn't have to face him. And that's what just makes this move even sweeter. The Dodgers are playing chess, man. The Dodgers are playing chess with a move like this.
Yes. One word to describe Tanner Scott: nasty. I mean, this guy is disgusting. He's filthy. He has that plus fastball that could reach 100 that nobody touches in the high zone. Then he has the sweeper and the slider combo that's just, he's filthy. He is a left-handed pitcher that, he's a power pitcher. He just goes in there and just dominates. 1, 2, 3. He was Ohtani's kryptonite in the postseason. Ohtani could not figure him out. And most lefties can't figure him out. He is literally the kryptonite to lefties. Like, no lefty is going to touch this guy. And the fact that we go out there, and I was very surprised by the number for a reliever. This is a big contract. Yeah. Mind you, this guy got 6 more than Teo. Yeah. That's surprising. That's eye-opening. But I think it's a well-deserved contract. Again, he's really nasty. To make this Dodgers bullpen now with Tanner Scott, bro, is unstoppable. We have 3 closers at the back end of our bullpen. We have Michael Kopech, Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan. Not to mind you, we still have Bruce Graterol and Evan Phillips. I mean, what do you do past the 7th inning?
And then I think you're also forgetting the next move we're going to be talking about, Kirby Yates. Like, the Dodgers just said, screw you guys. We're going to go sign Kirby Yates. It's ridiculous. I want to read his stats. So, like, Kirby Yates this last year, he had 33 saves. He pitched 61 innings, had 85 strikeouts. He had an ERA of 1.17. And he's just rotting. No one wants him. He's still a free agent. So, you know what the Dodgers say? Michael Kopech, it's looking like you're going to miss the first month of the year. Let's just go ahead and replace you with one of the best closers in baseball, like, for that 1 month, and then we'll see what happens after. It's crazy. And then you were naming off relievers. We still got Ryan Brazier, Anthony Banda, Alex Vezia. Like, Dustin May seems like he's going to be coming out of the bullpen at some
Yeah.
point next year. Like, the Dodgers are creating a monster team. A monster team.
You made a great point there about, sitting there rotting. So people are mad that the Dodgers are making these moves, right? But Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, nobody was going after them. Nobody wanted to offer them the contract. So what do you expect? The Dodgers go in there and they offer him something, and they agree. Nobody was out. You didn't hear any rumors about somebody being interested in Kirby Yates. Tanner Scott, you had some teams, but nobody wanted to pull the trigger. So guess who pulls the trigger? The Dodgers. We go out there, we make the and another great point that you made. Michael Kopech is going to be out with that injury. Our front office, Andrew Freeman. As soon as that happens, okay, we need a backup plan. Makes this move. Kirby Yates, he's 39, but the season he put up last year was phenomenal. All-star. He's going to be another great just backup piece in there that, again, we just have plane carriers back there. It's just, one guy after the next.
Yeah. You couldn't have said it any better. If you want to stop us from signing players, maybe let's stop having elite relievers in the game. Wait till January to sign.
Yeah, be aggressive. Just like the Dodgers. Be aggressive. Go out there and get the players.
The Dodgers in this aspect weren't even aggressive. The Dodgers were like, oh, wow, these guys are really good, and they're still like, no one else wants them. We'll just go ahead and take them because we got the money.
Yeah, we don't have a budget. We could go out there and just, hey, if you guys are still available, here's a contract. You want to come on board? Come on board. And if we're talking about the Dodgers, who doesn't want to come on board?
Literally. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So that pretty much recaps the main notable moves the Dodgers went out and made this offseason. The next thing I wanted to go ahead and ask you, Serge, is there's still about a couple weeks till they got to report to spring training. We got about a month until their spring training games. What moves do the Dodgers still have to make?
Honestly, I think realistically we don't need anything else. I don't think we need to make other moves. But I think if we're talking about any other moves that they couldn't make, I have two. I think the first one that I think is the most important, I think is Kike Hernandez. I think he needs to be a Dodger again. He's another Teoscar Hernandez. He's the platoon guy, but his more importance is off the field, the clubhouse guy. He's the glue to that team. And he's a postseason monster. I mean, you look at his stats in October. This guy has 15 postseason home runs, by the way, which is 8th of all time. And just for you guys that didn't know that. Kike Hernandez is a postseason monster, right? We didn't start him again in the first 3 games of the NLDS against the Padres. Put him in Game 4, that changed the whole thing.
Yeah,
changed the entire thing. So I think, and again, he's a fan favorite. Everybody loves Kike Hernandez. Who doesn't love Kike Hernandez? I love that when we traded back for him back in 2023, I love that he was back. He just fits. Again, he's meant for the Dodgers. He's meant for LA. He's just the main glue guy.
Yep.
And I think the second move, if we need to make one, I think it's going to happen. Obviously, Kershaw.
Yep.
Dodger legend. He's going to come back. He said it in the World Series parade, when he went up there, Dodger for life. This guy is, Dodger for life. He's going to finish his career with the Dodgers. And again, whether he comes back before the spring training, even maybe towards the middle of the year, it's Kershaw. We give him that discount deal. He come back when he wants. But I think those are the only 2 moves that I can see remaining is Kike Hernandez and Clayton Kershaw.
Yep. And you know what's crazy? I don't even got to go ahead and give my opinion on it because literally Serge took the words right out of my mouth. It's going to be Kike. It's going to be Kershaw. These are our last 2 moves. And it almost feels like, I don't know about Kike. I feel like this is more so for Kershaw. I think it still could be a play to Kike because Kike has been out and said, like, he's pretty much also been out and said, like, oh, I want to play for the Dodgers. Simple as that.
Yeah.
As they're almost telling these guys, listen, we're going to fill out the rest of our roster. And when the time comes and we got to set the 40-man, there's going to be a spot for you guys on the 40-man. Like, pretty much, I think that these guys know that they're coming back. They're just waiting for the Dodgers to finish up their roster. It's exactly like, why else would they sign Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates last minute before thinking about Kershaw and Kike? They're giving these guys, the Dodgers are almost in agreement with these guys. Like, let us do our thing. We'll finish it up with there. With that being said, though, I'm sorry. What was that, Serge?
No, yeah, they're the final puzzle pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
Once we get those 2 guys, we literally had the perfect offseason. Literally perfect offseason. Something I was gonna add about Kike is it seems like a move's gonna have to be made though in order to bring him onto the roster. Pretty much the way a roster works, like as simple as possible. You have the 9 guys in your lineup, and then you have the 4 bench guys, and you go out and you have 12 pitchers.
But in the Dodgers case, because Ohtani also counts as a pitcher, we technically have 13. It's a little weird. But the Dodgers are going to go out and they're going to need... 13 pitchers, and the Dodgers have 14 pitchers. That's what I really meant to say. But right now, our 4 bench guys is looking like, let's say, Andy Pages, Austin Barnes, Miguel Rojas, Chris Taylor, meaning that's our 4. Kike Hernandez is going to have to come back, and one of these guys is going to have to go.
Chris Taylor has to go.
Chris Taylor's the guy.
Chris Taylor is the odd man out. I mean, I'm taking Kike Hernandez 1,000 times over Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor, so much respect for the guy. He's been with our organization for a long time. He had his great moments in 2017, 2019, 2021. Never forget the walk-off against the Cardinals in the wild card game. He's a Dodger legend. You know, he's had really big moments for us, but I think over the past 2 years, it's just been decline. And I just don't think he has, a spot here anymore.
Yeah. And in my heart really wants you to say, like, no, dude, I'd rather keep Taylor and get rid of Miguel Rojas, because the memories Chris Taylor has brought, probably 90% of this fan base, man, outweighs some of these down years. I mean, let me just go ahead and name them, because I love naming these moments. The Chris Taylor single in Game 5 of 2017 World Series, that catch he made in the 2018 NLCS. Like, this guy has been there through thick and thin, always coming up clutch, and it's stinking knowing that this might be the end of the run. I do believe Miguel Rojas is more valuable to this team right now, especially with his help defensively with Mookie Betts, because Mookie Betts is going to be playing shortstop this year, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But Miguel Rojas is going to be able to help him, get to where he needs to be there. So Taylor seems like he has to go. And also, if we're being honest, Chris Taylor and Kike are pretty much the same player. They play all over the field, and they hit left-handed pitching really well. Yeah,
they're 1 and 2. They're basically the same exact player. It's just right now, you take Kike Hernandez every day over Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor hasn't shown us one bit of any type of, that he deserves that spot. And I just think Kike is 100% more valuable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that one, Serge. And before we get into the final question of this podcast, I also wanted to go over some of the losses the Dodgers had this offseason, knowing that these guys will not be Dodgers. It did sting a little. Right now, we currently have Jack Flaherty, Brent Honeywell, Joe Kelly, and Walker Buehler and Gavin Lux being the main losses of this offseason. So before we move on to the final question, are there anything you want to add about any of those guys? Because I know I have one guy in particular I want to just say a quick thing about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's tough to lose those guys. Those guys were a big, part of, the 2024 World Series team. I think the main two, just first to start out, I think Joe Kelly, even though he didn't play, he was injured, but, I mean, Joe Kelly's a legend in LA. I mean, this guy, on the field, he's actually, he was a really good pitcher. Obviously, he was just injured, which, sucked to see. I think he would have been a good part of our bullpen. I think he would have, played a big role, in the playoffs, last year. But his demeanor, his attitude, he's a dog. I mean, you don't mess with Joe Kelly. I mean, that you go out there, you don't want to pick a fight with that guy. He fights for his teammates, fights for his team. He's that guy. And I think the main one, the one that hurt the most is Walker Buehler. Yep. Hometown, homegrown talent. Drafted him, been with our organization his whole life. This guy closed out the World Series for us. We saw his highest of highs and his lowest of lows. No. And there was no better way for him to go out than that moment, closing out the World Series for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it's very sad to see him go. Signed a 1-year, $21 million deal with the Red Sox. Hopefully, wish him the best of luck out there in Boston. I think he'll do good out there. He did say he likes pitching in the cold. But you never know. This might not be the end of Butane and Dodger Blue. He signed a 1-year deal. Yeah. Hey, who knows? He might be back.
I agree. I want to just add something about Joe Kelly. Shout out 951, Riverside boy. So that's always something.
UCR.
Yes, sir. That's something to get us going. And also Walker Buehler. I'm going to miss that presence on the mound. And I definitely believe that Blake Snell has that kind of same mentality. So it'll be cool to see, the difference in those two guys. But Walker Buehler, man, some of the gutsiest starts you'll ever see. I want to go ahead and give you my favorite moment of Walker. My favorite moment of Walker Buehler, and it wasn't even like a good moment. It was 2021 NLCS Game 6. Dodgers are down 3-2. And obviously, we know the story with Max Scherzer and the dead arm and him not wanting to pitch. Yep. And the fact Walker Buehler was willing to go on 2 days rest, and although he struggled and he gave up like 4 or 5 runs in that outing, the fact he was willing to just coming off the Tommy Johns that he's come off of, like the fact he was willing to risk his health for that start, man, that just shows you the competitor he is. So I'm glad we got that lasting moment of him in Dodger Blue is him closing out that World Series. It's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome
well,
stuff.
I think going back to that point, I think that game is actually kind of what caused his second Tommy John surgery.
Ooh.
I think he even said it, but like you said, competitor, dog mentality, did not care. You could tell he was very confident in himself. He knew what he could do out there on the mound.
Yeah.
And, him coming back in 2024 in the regular season didn't, show the best things, kind of was very concerning, honestly. And going into the postseason, knowing that he was our number 2 because of the injuries was a little scary. But yeah, I mean, he, again, like Butane does, shows up in the biggest moments, and he showed up in the biggest of moments.
I agree. Couldn't agree more with you on that one, Serge. So, to cap off our inaugural episode of Ravine Rundown, and I also want to add, This conversation has felt very smooth, so I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. So, the question I want to ask, and I think it's pretty much the talk of the league right now, are the Dodgers ruining baseball?
No. They are. I think it's the opposite. I think this is great for the game. I think this is showing one. Okay. So in baseball, there hasn't been a back-to-back World Series champion in 25 years, right? The last time there was a back-to-back was the 2000 Yankees. The 2000 Yankees were an empire. At that time, nobody was complaining. It was the Yankees. They were the top dogs. They had all the money. They go out and get anything that they could. And now in 2025, 25 years later, the Dodgers are having that, and now everyone thinks it's an issue. First of all, the Dodgers are going out there, and one, they have the money to spend, but they use their money wisely.
Right.
They're not, they know what they want. The Shohei Ohtani move, they planned that for years.
Yeah.
For years. They didn't re-sign Trey Turner. He ended up signing a 10-year, $300 million deal. They didn't sign Bryce Harper. They didn't sign Giancarlo Stanton. They didn't re-sign Max Scherzer. Why? Because they were waiting for Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I like the point you made bringing up the 2000 Yankees and the fact that no one really complained. It almost felt like those teams back then were like, okay, we want to beat these guys even more. Instead of moping and crying about it, it seems like they were willing to go out and compete with them. That's the mentality that I want these teams to bring. I don't want... What was that?
Yeah, well, sorry to cut you off, but I'm saying, like, now the Dodgers are like the pedestal of the MLB.
Right.
And with anything in sports, anything competitive-wise, you always have to have that top dog. You always have to have, like, that villain.
Yep.
Why? Because it sets a standard. So now teams are going to be like, whoa, the Dodgers, like, we need to beat them. Oh, right. Now other teams playing the Dodgers could feel like a playoff game to them because it's the Dodgers. That's how high caliber we are. So I think it's the opposite. I think it's really good for baseball. I think it's showing these teams that, hey, if you want to be a top organization like the Dodgers, you need to go out and do what they do, which is spend money and bring in talent to your ball. Right. And to add on to that, the Dodgers are not doing anything illegal, right? People want to talk about, the deferred money. They have 1-point-something billion in deferred money. Well, first off, deferred money, people have always done it. Teams, you're allowed to do it. You're able to defer. And the biggest thing about deferred money is that the Dodgers don't just go out there and say, hey, we're going to defer your contract. No. The player has to agree to the deferred money. Yeah. That these players are willing to defer their money to create this super team because they want to win. I mean, that's the main point. Every MLB player, if you ask them the main goal, they want to win.
Yep.
They want to win a World Series. That's why they play the game. That's why they gone from their family for 10 months and go through the grueling 162. They want to win a World Series. That's how you become a legend in the game. And they're willing to defer the money, and you're allowed to do deferred money. A lot of organizations do it in the past, and there's still teams that do it now. But yes, the Dodgers have found that loophole of deferring money, and other teams are mad about it. And you could do the same thing. Everybody's entitled to defer money.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to kind of answer the question that I asked, mostly about are the Dodgers ruining baseball? I've been able to kind of understand both perspectives. My more biased perspective is, listen, you guys are billionaire owners. You guys need to go out. You need to spend the money. The Dodgers are spending the money, and they're wanting to win, like you said. And another thing that I want to add about the Dodgers, are they ruining baseball? I think that the fact that guys like Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott are waiting this long to be signed, like we stated earlier, what are these other teams doing? Why are we not going out, and why are we not stopping the Dodgers and trying to compete with them by signing some of these guys? Instead, we're letting them fall to the Dodgers. So I definitely think that there's that argument for the Dodger fans that are making that argument. I definitely understand the other perspective as well, though, where, you know, some of these organizations are like, dude, the Dodgers are signing players they don't even really need. And I kind of do agree with that to an extent, man. The Dodgers have an insane amount of depth. Like, it's not even depth anymore. I think our depth has depth. Like, we're at that point where, like, we just have so much depth. It's insane. And a point I want to make was the fact that we have so much depth. Like, we're going to have the greatest AAA team of all time. Like, I'm going to say that right now. The Dodgers are going to have the greatest AAA team of maybe the history of the sport. So that should put into perspective how much the Dodgers have done this offseason and building that depth. And I can understand why teams are upset at it. You know, it almost feels like the Dodgers are signing guys they don't even really need. And I honestly feel that in a way. Like, I felt that with Michael Conforto. I kind of felt that with Kirby Yates. Like, it's still like it gets to a point where it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, I'm a Dodger fan, and I'm damn happy we're spending the money, and I'm excited that we've gotten to this point. Simple.
No, well, and going back to the money thing, so, right, talking about, like, we're rich and stuff, half of the owners in baseball are billionaires. Just to name off a couple. The Cubs, the Ricketts, are worth $6.6 billion. John Malone of the Braves, $10.6 billion. John Henry of the Red Sox, $6.6 billion. These guys are billionaires. Yeah. These guys can afford it. They're just scared. They're afraid of the long-term effect of signing a big free agent. And there was a quote that I kind of read earlier today about Andrew Friedman that he made back in 2016. I don't have the quote exactly, but it was kind of referring to the fact, like, if you're scared to sign a big free agent, you're always going to come in third place. Right. You're never going to be on the top because you can't be scared. A lot of these owners are not spending the money, and I think that's one of the biggest problems in baseball is that owners are too cheap. You need to go out there, you need to spend money. You need to go out there and get the players. You can't be scared. Being scared and not taking risks doesn't win games, you know? And obviously the Dodgers, there might be a fact of maybe it's too much, but the point I made earlier, injuries are a major factor in this game, especially on the pitching side. And I think the Dodgers are just, over the years we've seen it, you know, in the past 3 years, there's always been injuries to somebody. In 2023, we were running Lance Lynn out there. I mean, that's how bad it was. You know, and Andrew Friedman is making sure that when it comes postseason time, we don't have that issue. We don't have these mediocre guys starting big playoff games for us. Yep. So, it could be too much. It could be, but we're able to do it, and these players are still available. So, we're going to go out there and try to load up so that when injuries do happen, because let's be honest, you know, the 1 through 5, you know, Shohei Ohtani, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Snell, and Roki Sasaki. One of those guys is going to get injured. I mean, it's the name of the game. Shohei Ohtani's not even going to start this season, you know, in the rotation. So that's already one out there. There's going to be somebody, you know, that's going to have to step in. And,
like, we're already a couple guys down.
We already have injuries. Bruce Delgado's out, same thing. And then you have to factor in, Yamamoto had an injury last year. He pitched a big playoff. Tyler Glasnow was injured last year. Roki Sasaki, this is his first year in the MLB.
He's never pitched more than 120 innings. That's something that
exactly. And Yamamoto got injured in his first year from the MPB. So that's another big factor. So he could possibly have an injury. So even though on paper it looks like the Avengers are on paper we have the best rotation in baseball, but we don't know, and most likely they're not all going to stay healthy for the entire year. So the Dodgers, being thinking ahead of the curve, are saying, hey, we need to get the most depth that we could get, so that if these guys go down, we're still good. Right. We're still able to run out there the best quality team, and that's what the Dodgers are good at. Their main goal, and always main goal, especially when Andrew Friedman's been, winning. You know, in baseball operations, is winning. We want to put the best product on the field for our fans, and since Andrew Friedman's been here, that's what he's done year after year after year. Like we always say, Freeman's gonna have a statue one day. I mean, he might be the best executive of all time.
We gotta hit him one of those on the chair, bro. We gotta get him on that one picture.
Yeah, I mean, classic.
Yes, sir. You know, I think that's all we got for our very first episode. I'm happy with how it came out. We went solid 54 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed.
That's good, man.
For now, I want to kind of be transparent if anyone's even made it this far in our video. I want to post these videos just on my Hanger Pod account, and then down the line, if we get some traction or whatever, we'll eventually create just a Ravine Instagram, TikTok. But for now, we'll stay on Hanger Pod. If you guys want more videos, we're gonna be trying to do them once a week at least. But me and Sergio are in school. We're both working. Whenever we find the time, we'll try to figure it out for you guys. Thank you guys for watching, though. And like always, let's go Dodgers, baby. Always great day being a Dodger fan in this time.
Thank you guys. This is going to be a long, good journey between me and Miggy. So, yeah, keep checking us out for any Dodger news, updates, anything. Welcome to the Ravine Rundown Podcast.
Yeah.
LA, baby. LA. See you guys on the next episode.
See y'all.